Ever since I started living with intention, this is my schedule. 4:30 a.m., I pop out of bed for morning prayers and meditation. 5:30 a.m., time for a nourishing and balanced breakfast. 6 a.m., gotta keep your mind and body fit if you want to be close to God. 7 a.m., sit down on my computer for another day of work. 7:01, be completely unable to keep up the facade anymore and crawl straight back into bed. Okay, so it turns out that caring about spirituality has not in fact made me into the sort of person who cares about waking up before dawn and being productive. Let's be honest, we're all trying to be good humans, but it turns out that being a good human is exhausting. You know that thing about how inside all of us there are two wolves? One of my wolves is looking for spiritual sustenance. The other just wants to lie in bed and have someone feed it snacks. So I decided to explore. How do you live a spiritual life without burning out and or becoming totally insufferable? There are plenty of ways to define living a spiritual life, but I'm big on connecting to my roots. So I decided to go back in time, like way back, no further. Yeah, no, stop there. Our 40-year detour in the Sinai Desert. This is when God commands the Israelites to be holy, because I, God, am holy. Roger that, God. Easy. I'll do my part by being good by something about... Okay, so it turns out I actually have no idea what be holy means or where to start. In fact, I'm not even sure if holy is the best translation. In the original text, the word is kadosh, as in be kadosh, y'all. But it turns out that kadosh has layers of meaning that an English translation just doesn't fully capture. It means separation, as in setting something apart. But let's be clear, that doesn't mean that the only way to achieve holiness is to become some hermit off in the woods somewhere and just never see another human being ever again. I mean, we tried that back in 2020, remember? Yeah, I don't think I got any holier over the pandemic, though I did pick up this really great habit of talking to my plants. Of course, this is Judaism, so even the concept of separation has multiple meanings. This religion, man. More layers than an onion. So I consulted the Ramchal, an Italian rabbi, Kabbalist, and philosopher. I figured if anyone could point me in the right direction, it'd definitely be a guy who devoted himself to the study of mysticism and poetry. And while I'm not really into poems, I'm totally here for the secrets of the universe. Anyway, the Ramchal says there are 3 ways to become kadosh. Number 1, kavanah. I know it sounds kind of like a yoga pose or an overpriced tea that you can only find at Whole Foods, but the Hebrew word kavanah, which is usually translated as intention, comes from the word for direction, as in make sure you're going in the right direction towards God. And I've got some questions about exactly how you do that, but I'll get back to them. Okay, you got your spiritual GPS on and you've made sure you're on the right path. Now let's talk about the second aspect of holiness. Number 2, pashut. Again, hard word to define and say, but you can think about it as removing something, as in removing any distractions or obstacles from your path towards holiness. Now this I get. Every single morning, I get to my desk with the best of intentions. Today is the day I stop procrastinating once and for all. Today is the day I actually finish every assignment, not only on time, but early. I know exactly what path I have to walk in order to achieve my goals, and then I open up Instagram or X or the cesspool of the internet, whatever you want to call it. And 3 hours later, my blood pressure is off the charts. I'm as anxious as can be, I'm enraged at the same time, and I've done absolutely zero work. The Ramchal would tell me I need some pashut in my life. In other words, block Instagram on your phone, Becky. It's a distraction and it's holding you back. I'm not gonna lie, reading about pashut made me feel personally called out. There's one more aspect to being holy, according to the Ramchal, and this one is the most confusing. Number 3, dveikut. Okay, not gonna lie, when I first heard this word, I was like, bless you. It translates roughly to sticking to something. Like, you know, God. But how do you stick to an infinite, omnipresent, and omnipotent force? No clue. So I hope our resident mystic, the Ramchal, will have some practical advice. And it turns out that he had so much to say that I had no clue where to start. But then I realized something else. That first bit of advice about making sure you're on the right path, so you've probably already realized that all of us have our own path to walk, our own journey. What makes sense for one person isn't gonna work for someone else. I mean, sure, there are guiding principles. Again, don't murder people, be good to one another. Those are pretty intuitive guidelines. But when it comes to cultivating a relationship with your own specific, unique spirituality, we're all on our own paths. And that means there's no one-size-fits-all approach to being a holy person. Just look at some of Judaism's most influential rabbis. Each one was incredibly holy in vastly different ways. Some, like the Ramchal, were mystics. Others were strict rationalists. Some emphasized that joy is the most important commandment, while others thought that a holy life was all about study. And some, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe, dedicated their lives to Jewish outreach. What I'm saying is, there's no single way to be holy. And while there's such a thing as a wrong path, there's also infinite ways to be right, which is both comforting and absolutely terrifying. Too many choices. So I opened my trusty Hebrew Bible once again, looking for explicit examples of holiness. Turns out everything that God created is holy in some way. Our earth, ourselves, and if you think about it, that makes sense. Every bit of nature, from the tiniest quark to the biggest star, has a function and a path. And no, I don't actually know what a quark is, I just know that it's really, really, really small. They all serve a purpose, even if we're not sure what that purpose is. They're all governed by a specific logic, even if it makes no sense to us. And if that's true of nature, well, guess what? Humanity is a part of that, which means we're holy just by virtue of being a part of God's creation. Sometimes when I look around at this planet of 8 billion people, it's easy to forget that every single one of us is infinitely valuable, created with a higher purpose in mind. But we are the only species, to my knowledge, that has the power to choose its path. And we're the only species that can strive to be more kadosh through partnership with God, which is less intimidating than it sounds. Take Shabbat, for example. God tells us to keep Shabbat holy. Now, Shabbat is already holy, but actually keeping it holy is an act of partnership with God. That's why every week we carve out a space and time to feel its holiness. Our specific set of Shabbat customs and rules helps us feel that inherent holiness in the day in a way that we might not have if we just treated it like any other day of the week. Well, we may be inherently unique and priceless, but that doesn't mean we can't strive for more. And we can only do that once we find our specific path. But finding the right path isn't a one and done kind of deal, you know? Sometimes it feels like you just have to keep finding it over and over. And I wish I could give each and every one of you advice on how to find your way towards holiness, but that would require knowing you deeply. So, I'm gonna do my favorite thing, which is talk about myself. Okay, not just myself, but what excites me. Because what excites me, what makes me tick, is learning that there are so many ways to be Jewish, so many unique shades of Jewish spirituality, so many paths towards holiness or spirituality or mindfulness or God, whatever you want to call it. They're all completely unique and individual. And I've realized that my path looks a lot like sharing my journey with you in the hopes that maybe it can help someone. It looks like studying as much as I can, and it looks like being honest with myself about my strengths and my weaknesses, because it's my unique strengths that are going to power me through this journey, and it's my particular weaknesses that can distract me from them if I'm not careful. So was that it? Be kadosh by finding the right path, removing obstacles from my way, and then doing things that'll bring me closer to God? Honestly, yeah, that's it. It's so simple, yet so complicated at the same time, because that's a whole lifetime's worth of work, and it looks different for each of us. There are so many ways to pursue the right paths towards holiness, but I'm relieved to tell you that, for me at least, none of them involve waking up at 4:30 in the morning.